Hello, good evening. Welcome to Brothers of MGTOW. I be your host, a brother of MGTOW, and this is episode 11. The main topic for today is MGTOW dating advice for women. Okay, so just as a hint, this is sort of if a woman was to come to a MGTOW and for dating advice, these are the things a MGTOW would say. Okay, to a woman who wants dating advice. So just before I start, I'll have to keep saying this. I'm not those anti-women type of person. Okay, I don't like to preach hate. I rarely want to do that. But at the same time, I need to expose some truth. And really, the most important part of what I do is telling the truth. Okay, valuing honesty, integrity, honor, loyalty above all else. Okay. Really, it's all about just making sure the truth is out there for people to hear. Okay. Now, no matter, and that obviously comes at a cost, right? It can be brutal, but for me, it's like the truth is brutal. So, what can you do about it? So, when you hear this stuff, right? Just know that I'm actually talking about this from a very honest point of view. Sorry, I'm just trying to read up a few things. I'll just got an email from one of my first year math students. I'll reply to it later. All right. So let's start. So I'm going to do this in a sort of a weird style. Okay, sort of more of an FAQ style. So I'll imagine that I'm like the host of. Well, I'm actually at a conference or something, or I'm speaking to 400 women in a lecture theater. Okay, and I'm basically doing a Q&A session, pretty much. So these women start asking me just questions. And what I want to do is sort of just come across the most common question or the FAQs from these women when it comes to dating. Okay? So I guess one of the big Q&As, one of the big questions that gets asked. So question one, who should pay for the first date? This is classic. This is classic. As a big towel, I believe in equality, right? In relationships, at least. So, short answer is we should pay your share of the date, pretty much. Okay, so if you went to just a decent restaurant and the bill was say $40, agree to split 20-20. Or if you paid for something more expensive, you pay your share, I pay my share, or whatever. Okay? On a date, on a first date, second date, whatever date, you all pay the same amount. Okay? There's a couple of reasons why me as a MGTOW I would do that. Okay? First of all, I'd sort of do it as a test to see what a woman is like. If a woman expects a man to pay on the first date, she may come across to me as someone who's entitled. Okay? And that's reason one. Entitled. She expects free handouts. She expects the man to do all the work. And if that's the case, normally I just do a U-turn very quickly. Okay? I keep saying this. In a relationship, you need to invest your time, effort, and hard work in equal amounts. Okay? we've talked about certain components of that. That's reason one. Reason two, and sort of going along the same lines of that, okay? Especially if you date the strong and independent type of woman, those ones that always say, "Oh, I'm a strong and independent type of woman. I have my own career. I have this, I have that." If you come across one of those people, let's just say a career woman, full stop. Okay, you come across a career woman. Well, a man. Let's say a man comes across a career woman. I won't talk about you, but okay. So say you are a career woman. I keep forgetting now. I'm actually giving date advice to women, not men. Okay, so I'm giving date advice to women. So say you yourself are a career woman, and you say that you are a career woman. So you have money, right? I assume you're not wasting it on God knows what. So you at least have some money. Why do you expect the man to pay for all the dates if you are capable of earning your share? In fact, one of my basic dating philosophies, okay, is that you need to have a balance between the notions of personal independence and togetherness. There needs to be a balance. I guess my philosophy is sort of I want to do my own thing when I feel like it. I will let the woman do her own thing when she feels like it. But the times when we can be together, we'll do our best. And that sort of comes down to communication a lot of the time. Something that sort of, I guess, is a very, very underrated trait in relationships these days. But that's not what this is about. This is about just answering some basic questions. So yeah, I guess those are the two big reasons I expect a woman to pay her share of the date. If she expects me to pay it, I sort of feel a bit used. Just understand my point of view on that. Okay? And that sort of, yeah, it really goes back to the fact, if you are capable of paying your own share for the date, right? Then pay it. If you want the guy to pay and the guy's okay with it, that's fine. There needs to be communication. Okay, but in general, if you can pay for it, pay for it. Don't expect the guy to pay for all the time. Again, you're just setting up for free handout. It just wouldn't be nice. You've already set yourself up for an unequal relationship. It just doesn't work. It'll fester out very quickly. So, all right. What else? Um. Yeah. I'm, this is not really a question, but I guess this is sort of an advice to women. I think I've given this one if I haven't, but it's a very important dating advice that needs to be put out there. And this sort of goes to the women. Okay, I know how you women like to fantasize about your Prince Charming or the one, the perfect man, whatever you want to call it, right? You need to wake up to, so this is for the women. You need to wake up to the reality that the perfect man, whatever you call it, the one, Prince Charming, those kind of things, they don't exist. Okay? You need to wake up to that reality. I think a lot of women who just keep trying to find that perfect man, you know, oh, I didn't date him because he's too short. I didn't date him because he has a beard. I didn't date him because he didn't like the same things I liked, and so on. You need to understand, you can't just. I know you have your checklist for what you want in a man. I assume you do. Okay, you have your checklist for what you want in a man. No, how do I put it? unless in extremely rare cases, no man out there is going to fulfill all your checklist requirements. So you can't just dismiss him instantly if he doesn't meet one of them. That's I guess the big thing. So I guess the question then is, what do you do? Okay, the $1 million question. So I'll just tackle one issue at a time. So let's tackle the checklist issue first. Okay. So as I said, no one man is going to tick all your boxes. Okay. And sorry, I'm just trying to put my thoughts in. So as I said, no one man is going to tick all your boxes. So you need to deal with some compromise, I guess, if that makes sense. So what you need to do is sort of assess your checklist. Okay. If he doesn't tick one of the boxes, assess, is that a deal breaker? Okay. He's too short. Is that a deal breaker? Uh, to be honest, it's quite superficial, that one. He's got a beard. Again, deal breaker. Is that a deal breaker? It depends. Superficial, in my opinion. Okay. What's I think the other one I was talking about. Yeah. He doesn't share the same interests as me. Is that a deal breaker? Well, if you have nothing to talk about, yes. However, if you share the same values in life, and this is sort of the next important point I should make, a lot of healthy relationships, long-term relationships, I guess, if you look at sort of a common denominator, it's not the common interests that bring them together. It's the common values that ensure the longevity of it. Okay, that's what's most important. So, say you're into karate or taekwondo, but the guy's not really into that stuff. Again, you're probably a little bit too demanding then if you expect if you sort of dismiss him based on that. Okay, so just remember that. So that's really the checklist issue. Okay, the next issue is sort of finding the right man. I take a values-centered approach to everything I do. Okay, I sort of judge actions based on the morality, whether I guess assessing risk assessment of actions. I take morality into account, personal gain. Sometimes I take other people's gain if that's important. Okay. Well, in a relationship, you understand it takes two to work. And this is, I guess, another problem with a lot of you women. You need to understand that a relationship is about two people. You can't just expect one person to do all the work for you and you just sit back, enjoy the benefits. You're basically just, you're again. I'll just, I'll just reduce it to the lowest common denominator. You're creating an unequal relationship the moment you sort of expect the man to do all the work. I've been in one of those. I won't say relationship, but I've been in that situation, and it's not a fun situation to be in. It keeps, and you sort of need to stop that. You need to understand it takes two for a relationship to work. But in order to do that, you got to understand you got to carry your load too. Just being a woman does not count as carrying the load. You've got to offer something to the table. And this is why MGTOW, I won't say why MGTOW is, but it's one of the biggest reasons why MGTOW is rising. It's because men are opening up to the notion that women a lot of women really don't have a lot to offer to the table. You know, you know, especially like women are becoming more masculine these days. The emphasis on sort of household work, women women tend to frown upon that now. But at the same time, they don't want men who actually can do that stuff. Sort of women becoming more masculine, men becoming more feminine. But then women are sort of like, nah, I'm good. I don't want that. It all comes back to the sort of the stuff I talked about with leftover women. How you sort of increase yourself to a point where your standards for finding a man just becomes too unattainable, according to the theory of hypergamy. I'm assuming you are aware of that. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. So finding the right man really comes down to finding someone that you can stay friends forever with. Ultimately, I believe, and this is really important, I believe that when the romance dies down, right, it dies down eventually. Let's not even deny that. Okay? And this is why I like to be friends first with a woman before being in a relationship with them. Preferably. Okay? Because when the romance dies down, and don't even deny it will die down. Okay? You can always add an extra few years, or you could add a whole lifetime to the relationship if you actually build up that foundation of friendship first. I may come off as very traditional in that sense. I may. But I believe that if you can't establish a good base for a relationship, anything else you build up from that just blows up. It's like building a Jenga block, building all those Jenga blocks, and you build the base with only one stick, right? You take out that one stick, most likely it's going to fall down. And that one stick is sort of just the ability to stay friends, the ability to be on good terms when you need to. And that is so important. This is why many relationships these days break down, because there's so much emphasis on the romance, or what we call sex, as opposed to the whole idea of friendship and love. And just for the women, I know you tend to think the two things are the same, very different things. No matter how much you want to deny it, love and sex are two different things. Okay? Okay, so back. I'm sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. So, really, finding the right man is about finding someone that you can be on good terms with, on friendship terms with, at least. And then, sort of, how to put it, work from there. Um, because I think you're setting yourself up to fail if you can't build up the friendship base, and that's very important. It's very, very, very important. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Yes, so as I say, you relies on that. Now, to building up from there. Okay, this is why you can't just rely on looks. You can't rely on things, such as earning capability or whatever. Looks, I call it the LMS. Okay, you can't rely on this stuff when you look at long-term relationships. When it comes to short-term relationships, no problem. I got no problem with that, but I don't deal with short-term relationships. Okay, so I'm just checking my email. Yeah, so I don't deal with the short-term part. I only look at sort of the long-term aspects of things. So I assume that's what women want, right? At the end of the day. So, yeah. I'm just trying to think a couple of things. So yeah, I keep saying whenever it comes to long-term relationships, you need to be mindful of whether you can be compatible personality-wise with the person, and this is sort of again the part that a lot of you women just sort of tend to forget. You can worry about looks, money, status all you want, okay, but at the end of the day, it's the personality that's gonna get you far. I mean, they always say looks get the first day, money get personality gets the second day. It's not. I don't believe in that stuff, to be honest. This is why I don't believe in dating until I have a good friendship base with someone. It just becomes too hard. I have to be honest. Okay. So I'm one of those MGTOW that's sort of open to the idea of a long-term relationship, but only from a friendship base. Only. Okay, I wouldn't just jump in knowing the person, barely knowing the person, and just going to the first date. I can't do that. I need to know the person for a couple of years. A lot of you guys, men, you could probably knock me on that, but I have my own style, so don't knock. Before you sort of give me rap on it, just know I have my own style. I have my own way of doing things. Okay, so yeah, just answering that question, how to find the right man. You need to work on a value centered approach, a personality centric approach, as opposed to the superficial things. You know, I know how you girls go. Oh, he's got to be 6 foot tall or above. I won't date him if he's not. He's got to be, he's got to look skinny or whatever. So at the end of the day, oh, he's got to earn more money than me or blah, whatever superficial stuff. Good men tend to perceive that type of woman as very, very shallow. So that's this is why I try to give these stuff to make you women less shallow, I guess. But then I'm not here to change you women. I'm just here to call you out on certain things. Okay. So yeah, so that answers the question. Sort of the point I want to address. Sort of what you look for, that perfect person or whatever. You need to get rid of that fantasy and then start living in reality, where no one will, no one man, unless in very, very rare circumstances, right? No one person will satisfy everything that you've ever wanted. It doesn't work like that. Okay, cool. So I guess that covers that question. So I'm just going to sort of have a look. I guess sort of back to the looks, money, status stuff, and that's sort of the third issue with that. If you if you feel if those are of importance to you, and that's not important to 99% of women, I keep saying it, then you sort of need to change your approach in a way, right? again, if this goes back, if you are one of those career women, right? Well, if you're not a career, if you're not earning money, if you're getting money from daddy or whatever, right? If you're one of those daddy's little princess type of girls, then obviously, don't, to all the men that watch this, you're one of those, what do you call it? You're one of those people that's got nothing to offer to relationships. So I instantly dismiss those kind of people. Okay, so I guess the next point is, if you are one of those career women, if you have a stable income, right? A stable income that you're comfortable with, then my question for you is, why do you need a man who earns more than you? If it's for the express purpose of sharing the money around, then I got no words for you except, see, the ideal relationship, the ideal long-term relationship is where you both earn your own money, right? You you shouldn't be dependent on one person for things, for so it shouldn't be one person being the breadwinner and then the other person sort of leeching off that. That's why many relationships fail, when you actually forget to realize that it takes two to tango, right? It takes two for a relationship to work. So you sort of need to understand that you've got to both lift your weight. So what that means is, both of you, if you can work, both of you work. Okay, if you earn equal income, so be it. I think a lot of women forget to realize that they actually need to put work into a relationship. They really do. It's just a shame to see an era where, and I'm not, I'm not going to point the finger at feminism. I really don't want to do that. But the reality of the situation is that that F word, right, feminism, has allowed women to just, so to speak, run rampant. This is just one of those things that I loathe a little bit. Okay, and I just think it's a bit of a shame that we've got to this point. So yeah, I'm just trying to check a couple of things. So really, if you're worried about money, don't. If you're ever worried about, status, again, status should not be an issue. If you want a comfortable long-term relationship, remember, if you prefer flair over grit, then you're setting yourself up for a short-term relationship. I'm not worried about that. In a long-term relationship, you're setting yourself up for grit over flair. So you need to learn to be comfortable with the person you're with. So just note that. All right. I'll just finish off this video by sort of talking about questions you shouldn't ask a man on, oh, especially a cisgendered man on a date ever. Okay. One of the questions is, this is money related. So either, what do you do, or how much money do you make? Okay. Never ever ask a man those questions, especially if you come across those MGTOW types or MRA types. of men. That, well, I just bunch them all up to cisgendered male types. Okay, never ever ask a man those two questions, because especially if they're the first questions. Okay, maybe if you drag them on a bit later on in the date, that's fine. That's probably a bit alright, But in the very first question, it's a big no-no for me because, especially for a woman, if I answer something that she may not like, she just shuts up straight away, and I think that's very you've decided to instantly write someone off based on what I do, but you didn't take the time to get to know the real me. So understand that problem. Okay. So never ask anything money related in the first, I would say the first 6 months of dating. Okay, anything money related. Maybe occupation is fine, but don't make judgments based on that. Maybe just say, look, what do you do for a living? Do you enjoy what you do for a living? Try to get to know him on a deeper level. And when I mean deeper level, I don't mean assess his income or whatever, assess his potential income. It's about trying to get inside the man and trying to get to know the man inside that man. Yes. The soul, the heart, the passion inside that man. Get to know that. And it's a shame because I think a lot of women just don't give a flying crap about who a man is as opposed to what a man can do for them. You need to understand if you want a relationship, you've got to care about the person. Okay, you've got to care about him. And I guess the question you need to ask is if he lost everything, would you still want to be with him? If the answer is no, then that's on you. My belief is that's on you. Okay, you chose him. You got to stay loyal to him. No more. This whole but. I think we've lived in a world where it's so easy to experience like buyer's remorse and then just walk out without, I guess, any communication. That's where infidelity pretty much starts. Okay, so that guess that's the really important part, question that you should never ask. The next one, and also with that last point as well, the man will look at you and he'll just say gold digger. He'll look at you and he'll say gold digger. So just beware of that as well. Don't, especially if you're genuinely not one of those gold digger types. Asking those questions will raise red flags. Okay? So the second question that you should never ask, and this one comes pretty frequently. What are you looking for in a woman? Try not to ask him that one. Okay? Now he can give qualities in a woman. Okay? He can do that. I guess where we draw the line here is where if you really want to be with him that bad for reasons other than who he is, it basically just shows it's basically a trigger for you as to how you should act in front of him. And no long-term relationships are good if you have to put up a front. You need to be your honest selves. Okay? Again, this is why men get fed up easily with the types of women we have these days. Okay? Yeah, so just beware of that one. I mean, my reaction to that, like I guess, what are you looking for in a woman? I would say, I don't know. Just show me who you are. Okay. All right. I don't really have any other ideas for other questions. I guess if you sort of look at Paul Elam's sort of 7 deal breakers with women, I think I sort of covered 2 of them. But I guess the first one's very important. Okay. I may have missed some as well. I'm probably going to fish on this one little piece of advice, then I'll break it off. But just before I say that, if I have missed a couple of dating advice, so MGTOW dating advice for women, right? So if any guy or girl wants to sort of comment on things I missed, down below, comments box. Okay? So I'll finish off with this sort of advice that I give for women in the dating setting. Okay? So obviously I start off with the idea that the one doesn't exist. I've mentioned everything in the past. Okay, I've mentioned everything in this video. What I would say. I guess the one thing I sort of want to add, this I'll finish off on this note, is that. Sorry, I'm just trying to read something. Yeah. So I just want to finish off on this advice. A man will want to look into your heart. Okay, a man love women. They want to get to know you. They want to please you. Okay, they want to take care of you, and that's all fine. Do not take that. Do not use it to your advantage. The moment you do that, you will end up in a shitty situation where you abused a man emotionally. You may not realize it, but the moment you sort of say, so the moment you hit the wall and you sort of say, where did all these good men go? You know, damn, what did I do? Then you'll know what you've done to decent guys. And then you'll want a time machine to go back. I mean, the only solution you have is a time machine to go back because you wasted your time looking for things that weren't important. You made mistakes. Okay, so really, just don't try to abuse any man that's out there. You know, really, who really wants to be with you. You've got to want the guys who want to be with you, unless you feel that you can't for some reasons. Maybe maybe it's mostly personality related. If you can, if you feel there's got to be compatibility issues, that's fine. But just note that you need to be accountable for your actions. And I keep saying this, you have to hold yourselves accountable to everything that you do. The moment you start blaming other people for your mistakes, things go south. Okay? Remember that there are decent men out there. And the moment you start, I guess, taking advantage of that situation, you're really setting yourselves up for failure in the dating circuit. So if you ever come across those type of good men, you know, give them a chance. Okay, I'll finish it with that. Okay, I'm kind of getting a bit tired these days. Still got a fair bit of work to do. Cool. I'll try to make. I'm, I'm starting to make less videos, just so you know, because I'm getting quite busy with all my PhD work and the tutoring and stuff. So I'm probably going to stick to one vid a week. I may make one video next week, and then I'll take a bit of a break because my parents will be in town for a couple of weeks. So yeah, so I'm getting a bit tired. My throat's getting a bit sore. All right, so thanks guys for watching. Apologies if I come across as a bit awkward these days. I'm just getting a bit busier these days. So for all the men, MGTOW, and for the women, sort yourselves out.